Very good. Yes, sir. Yeah, I think it is. I'm just using the page. I was using this button here. Yes, sir.
It just has a
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's that page, just that fading thing.
He was telling me to, if I'm going to make sure I keep and give my point to
Start tonight's meeting for the Badger Armistice RAB meeting. We have a pretty good crowd considering how much snow and ice is out there. I was telling friends here that I got off the plane from San Antonio and that wind hit me and my brain went, what is this? So it was pretty cold. But I'm glad that everybody's able to make it out and that we can discuss what we're doing at RAB tonight. Let's go with this. Begin our discussion. Everybody ready? Anything to go on? Okay. So I'm glad everyone made it, like I said, and to be here with everyone. So we'll start today with the roll call of those members of the RAB that are here. And Sergio, you have a list?
I do not have a list. If we could just kind of go around.
Okay. So if you wouldn't mind saying your name and who you represent, or that'd be great.
Curtis Edmond, toxicologist, Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
Jeremiah Yee, toxicologist, Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
Mike Gleason, Lake Wisconsin Alliance.
Luke Lampo, Wisconsin DNR.
Isaac Ross, Wisconsin DNR. Randy Polma, I'm with the Ho Chunk Nation. Charlie Wilhelm at large.
Doug Dirksen, Town of Sumter.
Online. Do you have to speak online?
You got people online?
let me see who's online. Wendy Carlson, I believe. We have Nancy Frost, Jelena Banks, Joe Block, Laura Ola, Jason Lowry, Matt Pejorowski, I hope I didn't kill that, Quan Gwynn, Stephanie Brinsiki, hope I didn't kill that, and Zhang Zhaochun.
Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. We reviewed the minutes of October. I sent out the minutes earlier in the week, and are there any comments that anyone had from those minutes? I think I got some comments from Ms. Laura, and I addressed those. Anything else from the RAB members on those minutes? It's pretty long. It's a pretty detailed 7 minutes. So, hearing none, the minutes are approved. So we'll start with our presentation here. First thing that we have is our agenda here. I wanted to go over that with y'all. We're going to talk about the proposed plan, a groundwater well optimization update. That'll be led by Joel, our subcontractor out there, and groundwater sampling update. Then we'll discuss what's going on at Grove Bay, and then a project management update, things that we're doing. And future minutes, future meetings, we need to discuss that. So if I get in a rush to move them, just slow me down because we need to talk about our April meeting, just to let the RAB know. And then, of course, questions and closing comments. So with that, we'll look at the next, let's start talking about, welcome to everyone here. And so, we'll talk about the groundwater proposed plan that we've submitted to the WDNR. And in February, just go over what we've done. In February, we submitted the very first draft file to the WDNR. We got the review back in June. We returned those comments in August. In October, they returned them back. And in November, we gave our last set of comments, but there's still things that we need to talk about with the WDNR about some of the things that we had talked about wanting to do in the proposed plan. And it all goes back to the feasibility study and risk evaluations at that point. So as you can see, our path forward, what we need to do is just to summarize it. Once we get our proposed plan done and the WDNR agrees to it, then we will it'll be ready for public review and incorporate those comments. So right now, the USAC, that's us, will continue to evaluate the natural cellulose plume, which was a comment from the state, in regard on-site groundwater as a single assessment, and we're engaged in further discussion regarding the baseline health risk assessment. So we're talking about it because there's some between requirements of the CERCLA and requirements from the state of Wisconsin, and we're getting together to better address it and to come to an agreement for that part. So we're still in talks about that, but I feel very confident after talking with the WDNR that we'll get there and it'll be a good thing for us all. Also, the USAC will perform a comparison of the 2018 groundwater sampling and risk data and compare it to the 2023. So when the risk assessment was done, that was over 5 years ago, 6 years, I guess now. And so things have changed, as everything does. So it's been over 5 years. So we're going to look at that and compare. And this is I've seen this in other installations. A contract modification is required to do these tasks, and so we've got to take care of that. So we pay our contractor to help get us to get this done. And so we're currently preparing a modification for submittal to our Mission and Installation Contracting Command. We call it MIC. So when you send things to MIC, that is our contracting office. Just to give you all more acronyms to learn and to appreciate. So once the NC reevaluation and proposed plan data comparison is complete, we'll revise a draft proposed plan and resubmit it to the WDNR for final approval. And because of our negotiation and talk with the WDNR, and we get everything lined out, I expect that part to go fairly quickly. So once we get everything agreed, we're going to have a 60-day public comment period, and it will be initialized once the proposed plan is approved for release. So once Army and the WDNR agree with the proposed plan, then we'll have a public meeting, and we'll be held with comment period to address community questions and concerns. That is part of the CERCLA process. So we're doing everything like we're supposed to do. Okay.
Oh, in case there's questions before.
Is there any questions?
Yeah, we have a question.
Oh, okay.
I believe the question is from Laura Ola. Can you hear us, Laura? No, she's not muted.
I can hear you.
Okay. Go ahead, Laura.
Oh.
I didn't raise my hand. I just put questions in the chat for whenever it was appropriate.
Okay. Okay, so we go next. Okay. The next we have, did I hit that button too much? Okay.
I apologize. It's a 3-second delay from when people speak and when the mouth moves.
Okay, so our next will be the current optimization update for our mine wells that we've done. As you know, we've installed 8 wells in the past year to help define the nation extent for deterrent burning grounds, which is up in this area. We installed 2 wells at one location in September, and we sampled that in November. So that's
Joanna Banks is now joining.
recently sampled. And then, of course, the central plume, which is right through here, we have installed 3 wells at central plume at 2 locations, here and here, in October, and we sampled those in November. And then these here, as part of the PGB plume nature and extent characterization, we installed 3 wells there at one location, and that was sampled, and that was in May, and we sampled those in September. So these new wells we've installed, we have at least 1 round of sampling already done for us. And so those reports have been sent to WDNR for their review and information. Right now, we're still in the process of obtaining a route of entry permission from Wisconsin Power and Light, and that is down in here. We are, so right now the agreement is with U.S. Corps of Engineers legal, because the way the government is set up, the Corps of Engineers, they have a real estate division, and they're the ones that obtain our right of entries and that. So it's not AEC, but we have to use that because they've been designated by the GSA as that's their responsibility. So right now it's on legal review by the Corps of Engineers, and hopefully we can get that agreement done here in the near future and install these wells to help define nature and extent of the PGB plume. So I'm going to let Mr. Joe talk about the groundwater sampling update that we've just recently completed.
Joel Jansen from Spec-Pro. We're the on-site contractor doing all the operation, maintenance, and groundwater sampling for the Army. So we oversaw the well installation last year, and part of that was some of these wells that Dwight was just talking about. This little green bullseye circle, those are the 2 wells that he had shown within the determined burning ground plume. So during November, we were able to sample those 2 wells for the first time. So we had, first bullet says there are no detections. So with this small sampling plan of 9 wells, which is not the standard for the entire plume, there's a lot more wells that are sampled in September and April. But this 2 well nest here was the leading edge of the plume, and we were trying to define the potential extent. Was the plume continuing to migrate further towards Wiggins Bay? And then there's a small subdivision here. It's like a trailer park. And so for the first sample, both wells were clean for VOCs and D&T. So good news on that we don't have some migrating front at this moment for D&T. Those 2 wells are going to be continually quarterly sampled initially, so we're going to continue to watch to see if there is something that does move in that direction for a long-term sampling event. The other 2 wells that are off that have been monitored for the D&T above the enforcement standard, they're right back here in this blue dot, and those are listed the B and the C, and those do have exceedances for the D&T enforcement standard for total, and that has been ongoing for quite a few years. Over the last year, though, they have dropped some in some of the recent rounds, but we're constantly monitoring those as well quarterly. And then there are 2 residential wells that are sampled quarterly. They're shown here on the map, and those are also no detect for D&T again this round. So we're doing those again in April, and then we have August and June, November, so constantly watching those wells. And the same with the central plume. So Dwight had showed you 3 wells, so there's these green dots here. We have the 3 monitoring wells. Originally, these wells were not included in a plan that we had submitted to the DNR, but due to the issues with the Alliant Energy gaining access, we requested that we install these other wells that the DNR was interested in the central plume, so we could get something accomplished while we wait for the Alliant Energy. So we had moved to trying to help define some issues with the central plume. So there is a shallow well out here. This is the rocket area. There was no current definition of the plume out to the west or up gradient. And so this shallow well was clean for also VOCs and DNT. There is a well nest here. There's a shallow and a little bit deeper that we installed. And so right here on the map, this is the existing landfill, or the old, where all the demo waste is for anybody that's been out there. This is the fenced-in area. So just down from the fenced-in area is these 2 wells here, and the shallow well was clean. The B well, which is the next level down, is still contaminated for DNT. So we had in June is when we do this entire plume. So I show that we have 43 wells that we're going to be sampling in June. And last year, in June, the well that we always report on near the landfill, it's somewhere in here, the DNT concentration was very similar in the A level, which is the shallow. So it was very close to this 0.162. And then the deeper well, which is close to our B here, was 0.3 for a total DNT. So we're going to work on evaluating this information and getting another sample for the entire plume in June, and then moving forward with what kind of other decisions we need to do for if additional wells needed in the future. There are no additional monitoring wells in this direction. There is a monitoring well up at the top of the plume, a shallow and a deep, and those were clean last year. And then there's the sampling down by the Water's Edge subdivision. Concentrations have been dropping down in that area. DNT used to be more consistently found above the enforcement standard or near it, and it's now showing to be below the enforcement standard pretty consistently. And I'd say after that, I'm ready for questions.
We have a question from Laura Ola.
Okay, go ahead, Laura.
And we tested all the residential wells in Water's Edge. Down by the across from Jerry Forge.
I think your question was, have we tested all the residential wells in Water's Edge?
So hers was specific to slide 7. When was the last time that all the private wells in Water's Edge were tested by the Army?
In August of 23. So last year, we did do all of the wells in the Water's Edge.
Thank you.
Yep. And the one that we are testing here that we said one residential well had total DNT, that's the only well that had DNT in August of last year. And that one is tested quarterly. Any other questions on the new installation or the November data? Excellent.
I was just informed that Ms. Laura has several questions that she had sent earlier in the email. However, I would like to respond to these offline, and that way we can, and then we can copy the RAB with her questions and our response. I think that would be more efficient use of our time. And Ms. Laura, thank you for those questions. I was able to read them just briefly here tonight, but I would like to have, I think I need more time to reflect what you're asking and give you and the RAB a much more detailed question for you. Are you okay with that?
Sir, can you hear me?
That was Quan.
This is
Yeah.
Quan. Can you
Hi,
hear me?
Quan. Yes, go ahead, Quan.
Okay, so regarding Laura's questions to the Army regarding the TAP, if the TAP consultant can help the RAB with preparing a public comments, thanks for the question, Laura, but we will check on that. We will check with our contractors that is that will be heading that tax support. But in my mind, I think that should not be an issue. In regards to the second question regarding, again, I get a lot of feedback, so I guess I should probably stop them.
But we'll answer her questions, and then we'll copy the RAB on those. There's like one of her questions was for us was the TAP, which is the technical. I forgot exactly what, but that's the technical assistance program to the RAB, and we want to. She was asking about can it be continued, and that is a question that Quan seems to think that we can, but it's one of those things you have to ask, contractually and what the process and procedure are. And I don't know what that is right now. So with that, Ms. Laura, we will get back with you, and we will copy the RAB with all the questions and answers. But I appreciate those questions. Those good questions. That's what I could read. So what now? I want to talk about Rivers Grove Bay that we have here for the sediment RI update we're doing. Now, we sent the first draft to the WDNR for review in July, and WDNR gave us their comments back in November, and it was very extensive. The WDNR does a real good job of reviewing our documents. I want to say that. And then in January, we sent the response back to them, to the WDNR. And after our discussions, we had met briefly with the WDNR yesterday representative, and we're going to set up a meeting so we can discuss the comments with the WDNR and the contractor who did that work for Rivers Grove Bay. So the thing I want to impress upon the RAB is that we are keeping the WDNR and all decision makers informed and meeting with them as much as possible to make sure there's nothing missed or nothing misinterpreted. So I think that our communication is really important to make this whole program successful. And the WDNR has been very good about working with us. So the path forward now for us is we funded the data gap. There's an investigation for it and an FS for the Rivers Grove Bay. It's been funded, and the contract has been, it's in the process of being awarded by the Corps. That money, we've sent it, so now they have to do their legal contracting part. And then, but the process is continuing. So once we get all that rolling, then they'll be able to do more work. Now, once the FS process is complete, then we're going to do a proposed plan, and that's going to be developed on how we're going to achieve remediation for Rivers Grove Bay.
Could you remind us what FS stands for?
FS, I should have put it previously, that's a feasibility study. That's my fault on that one. They say it so much, just want to get close to it, and everybody knows what that is. Well, not following that. So that's where we're at. Any questions?
Yes, Dwight. Laura has another question.
Yes.
She would like to know if the DNR will also provide written answers to her questions and share them with the RAB.
I will work with the DNR to get questions out.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, any further questions on River Grove Bay? Okay. Well, now we've got the second 5-year review. That was completed. Took a while to get it done, but we got it completed. And that was delivered to the DNR on December 19th. The resolution to internal reviews took longer. I had hoped to have it out in November and everything, but we had to get some technical comments and some other editorial pieces put in, and it just took longer than anticipated to address these technical issues and get our comments aligned with the U.S. Corps of Engineers and internal USAC. The 5-year plan was reviewed by the EMCX, and that is a specialty arm of the Corps of Engineers, and they gave it a really good review, and it took a while, took longer than we had thought to address all those questions sufficiently. But once we got it done, we got it out, and we sent that to WDNR. So once the comments are, I've asked it to have them reviewed by February 2nd with the WDNR. So once we get the comments and we address WDNR's comments, the 5-year review will be available by the RAB and the community to be reviewed and to look at and to read. It's pretty long. So any questions on a 5-year review? Okay. Well, this part right now, the settling ponds and expanded site inspection that we're going to do for there. The contract for that work for the SI, which is the site inspection, was awarded December 1st, so about a little over a month ago. And this includes, the Fountain Creek, settling ponds 1, 2, and 3, or 1 and 3. We've already done the SI for 2, and the soil disposal areas 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so we also have a site-wide groundwater monitoring plan, and we've met with the WDNR to begin initial discussions on optimizing our groundwater sampling. To make it more efficient and to get a schedule that we can the WDNR likes and that we can follow. And then, of course, we have an emergency response plan, and the emergency response plan is, Mr. Joe, can you elaborate that on?
Yeah, so the emergency response plan is, anybody remember Joan Kenny, who was with the Army? It was we will replace your well or provide bottled water, and she started that. But the written program has never really been very official. And so there's been a lot of questions about, well, you say you're going to replace somebody's well, what is the documented thing? And so it's going to be fairly simple, but it's going to be Army prepared, reviewed, and then reviewed by the DNR. And that's like something that somebody can go to and say, what's your official statement about you got D&T above a certain number or another compound, and then this is the steps you take.
So what the Army is doing for this, and thank you for that explanation, we're tying up things that aren't we're not documented, well documented, so we can have a path forward, so the public will know, okay, this is what happens if we see this will set off a series of other actions by the Army, and it's all laid out in this emergency response plan. I think it's a good thing to have and to fill in the gaps. So for the plans right now for the settling ponds is that we got the project management plan, how we're going to go about it for managing the project, and then we have the site health and safety plan. There is, the grains in the Fountain Creek I like to call it the creek bottom, because that's what it is, it's on the creek bottom. So we got grains in there, and then we have one of the part of our process at the Army. You have the Uniform Federal Policy for Quality Assurance Project Plan, and this is a series of worksheets that has requirements that list out the requirements that we're going to do to ensure that we have defensible and repeatable data from our lab, and that we are following procedures prescribed by EPA and Army regulations. So it's a really a good thing. It's better than it in the past. I've had to do these quality assurance plans, and they were very cumbersome. But the federal policy, the United Federal Policy they have now is you have a lot of sheets, but it lays it out to where you can look at everything. It's very efficient. So that's where we're at now. And once we get those completed, then we'll begin the process for developing the RI investigation, but the SI side investigation where we're going to sample and doing that plan. So everything has to follow these steps. That way we can ensure that we have the best coverage and the best way forward to do this, not have to come back. And this is another thing. This is part of I wanted to show a map here, the site-wide groundwater monitoring plan. As I said before, here's all the wells that we have on site. And one of the things we discussed yesterday was, where we've had detection and non-detections over time, over the many years that work has been occurring here. We need to optimize and say, do we need to really sample this well every quarter? Do we need to sample this well 1 year? Maybe we can take it every 2 years. So these are to help us, optimize, save money, but also to have a more efficient sampling program. Because if you're always sampling the same well 4 times a year and it's never had anything, that's really not efficient. And so I call it just optimizing our sampling program. And so we are involving, and then also to go over our lab parameters and sampling frequency. And we're involving WDNR early on in these discussions, so they will have input on this. Again, I believe part of our success is involving WDNR from the get-go and everything. Any questions? Okay. So right now, as before in the past, we've had discussions on PFAS, remedial investigation for the repellent burning ground. We did a SI a year or so ago, and we had one location that had detections above the Army's Office of Secretary of Defense limits that would kick off an RI, and that was like 6 parts per trillion. It was the guideline, and we had a couple of wells at one location that were above that. So it goes into the PFAS program. And so we completed the Defense Environmental Restoration Program, DERP, eligibility package for the creation of an active remediation site. So all our PFAS sites, the Congress has said that they want us to keep it segregated so they can track costs. So we have to have these sites created so we can put money towards it for investigation. It's an accounting thing. So the specific PFAS site creation is part of all allocation of environmental remediation funding. So when we get our funding, then we can allocate money to these numbers and these slots. The Badger site, we submitted that in December 2023 for the Army Management Evaluation. So it's working its way up to review process, and so it's making way through all the review approval processes up and through the Pentagon, what we call G9 and other things like that. So they will review that, make their assessment, and then then give us what guidelines we have to go from their assessment. Now, currently at AEC, we got an acquisition contract for PFAS underway, and it's called It's FY24 Enterprise Environmental Remediation Multiple Award Contract. It's a lot of words. We just call it IRMA. And what this is a lot of, it's a series of, there's a lot of contractors that have been pre-qualified to do work. So when we have PFAS work come up, then we have a list of contractors that we feel qualified and that have been vetted and qualified to do our work. It enhances, it makes the contracting process much easier and much faster. And then so that is underway. It's very close to being awarded. So once it's awarded, and we get our approval from the Army management, then we can start the process for beginning our PFAS work. It's all about processes.
There's a question, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Laura wants to know when the Army will start testing off-site drinking wells, given the exceedance of PFAS in groundwater at the plant boundary.
That has not been addressed as of yet, but that's something to talk about with our people on that. Right now, we're just concerned with this one location, and then we'll see what management has to address that question. So we had some questions that came in during this past quarter that I wanted to bring up to the RAB for your information on what we're doing. And one was, what is the difference between the Restoration Advisory Board, what we are, and the Technical Assistance for Public Participation, which is the TAP, which I could not remember a while ago. What's the difference? And as you can see, the RAB is an Army hosted function for the dissemination of cleanup information and receipt of community input for our restoration projects. So it's different. It's for public input and information dissemination. The TAP is technical, so it's all information from a technical perspective. So it's a program that provides community members of the RAB to access independent technical support using government purchase orders. So we have a contract for this. And that's what Ms. Laura's question were earlier about, the contracts for the TAP. Will it be extended? That's something we need to investigate. But the TAP program at other places, and as here, seems to be very successful for getting out technical information. So the TAP contractor provides the RAD community with independent assessment in interpreting scientific engineering issues about nature, environmental hazards, and restoration activities, especially here at Badger. There are many factors here at Badger, and that the TAP, the person I've met him, I can't remember his last name, James Tingham. That's it. Very knowledgeable person that has described his process, and we provided him with a lot of information on Cornhusker, so he will be providing technical information on remediation here in the near future, is my understanding. Any questions on this? And so one other question we got, I think from Ms. Laura, was will the design of the pilot scale testing be approved by WDR before initiating? And that question is yes. Make it very clear that we want to have WDNR involved in all aspects of our bench tests, and we view the WDNR and its technical teams as important in the assessment for the best way of approaching the proposed plan when it finally gets approved, and we go through all that, all the signage and everything, and get to remedial design. We want to work very closely with the state to get a good plan up and going and moving forward on this. So the answer is yes. We do want WDR involved very much in our work on this. So here's our future meetings. Any questions on this other one? I'm sorry. questions on the TAP, RAB, and working with the WDNR for a bench test. Okay. Anything else? So future meetings, I did not forget. So I have to remind me. April 18th is our next meeting. However, our contractor who is doing our support, our technical support, their contract ends in March of this year. So we will not, the UACC will not have the assistance of our contractor because the way contracts run. Now here's some options for us to think about. One option is to move the next meeting up from April to March. That's one option. Another option could be we not have the April 18th meeting and just go to July 18th and use that meeting. Or we could, maybe some other method. I think we brought up maybe using existing contractor to help support our meeting, but you probably would not get the level, would not get as much technical support because of contracts that we're having here. So this is something for the RAB to consider. Now I know it's for you to think about, and right now I can ask questions or any suggestions or anything on this from the RAB right now.
The period of service ends on March 31st?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
So I'm the other person.
Yeah.
That we would provide the services of the video, and then the limited function would be we do not provide the detailed minutes. We may be able to figure out a Teams link, but that is clearly not our specialty. I mean, I have Teams, but I've never tried to figure this out. But we can definitely hold a meeting. I mean, we've held meetings before, so.
Well, then would it make sense to have a meeting in March while we still have contract?
That would be my suggestion as well.
Yeah.
Juan just suggested you guys could do a virtual one also.
We could also do a virtual kind of meeting at some point. But it sounds like, so there's a motion now by, I guess a motion is the right word. I'm not a gavel, I would grab it. But there's a motion that we move the next RAB to, what you say, more towards the end of March.
That would be my personal preference, but I don't want to speak for the group. But if it could be like the last week of March, that would be the best for me personally. But I defer to what's best for the group.
So the motion is to have the last week of March for the RAB meeting, and
if it's the last week of March, it can't be on a Thursday because there's conflicts with that for me.
Okay.
So it has to be a different day of the week.
A different day of the week, not March 31st.
Oh no, I'm sorry. March 31st is a Sunday. So if you're looking at March
28th.
You're going to do it on the 28th. I have a conflict with that date, March 28th. So if you hit on a Wednesday, the 27th, or a Tuesday, the 26th, that would be fine with me. Or the week before, the 21st.
Okay.
But not the 28th.
So there's a recommendation that we have, when we move the RAB meeting up to the 27th, you said?
Wednesday the 27th.
Wednesday the 27th for our next RAB meeting. That way we can still enjoy the 21st.
So Laura has a question. Laura, go ahead.
I would recommend not on Wednesday because that's church night for a lot of people.
Okay.
Stephanie Brzezinski, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. She's suggesting Thursday the 21st.
I'm good with that.
I'll go with that.
All right.
That's good.
we'll make, any further discussion? And we'll have it, March 21st is, our next RAB meeting. Thank you all for that. I think that we had a lot of, I think we're doing a lot of good things here at the site.
Or in person?
In person, I think is what we were talking about.
Is the March 21st in person or virtual?
It'd be in person.
But with the teams.
With the team's support.
Well, we would be able to do virtual as well.
We need to circle back with our RAB support contract to see exactly when that contract ends in March.
Okay.
Sergio? The 31st, actually. It ends the last day of March.
So the contract ends the 31st of March.
What about doing the minutes?
I mean, that'd
be part of it. Yeah. Okay, so I think that the RAB is wanting to meet again on the 21st of March, and we could have an in-person meeting here, here at this facility, and I think that'd work for everybody. The RAB agrees. Everybody say aye. Aye. Okay. Motion carries. Any other questions that anybody would like to have?
Yes, Laura has a question. So
yes.
Does that mean that the April 18th meeting will be canceled?
Yes. Till we get this other contract vehicle up and running. If there's any changes, we will certainly notify the RAB. But as of right now, we're going to say March 21st will be our next RAB meeting. Any other questions?
Those be public, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate you taking time to come out and visit with us tonight and for this RAB, and those people online. Thank you for attending. Appreciate your questions and your patience with me. But I hope everyone has a good evening and safe travel home. I can tell you this, my blood is still not thickened up. Man, I got cold today. But anyway, with that, I'd like to bid everyone a good night, and we'll see y'all next time.